My husband abandoned me after I became paralyzed and could no longer cook for him. He had no idea I was about to inherit $100 million. Hi there, welcome back. Please don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Emily always saw her life as a gift, even during the hard days. Every morning at 5 a.m., she was up early, preparing a lunchbox for her husband, David, before heading to open her little bakery. Her cinnamon rolls were a local favorite, and her warm greetings made customers feel like family. To outsiders, it all looked ideal. David would stroll past the bakery window in his crisp clothes and flash a perfect smile her way. People assumed he was the dream husband, supportive and charming. But things were not so sweet behind closed doors. David hadn't held a job in 2 years. He blamed the economy, claimed jobs were beneath him, or said he was waiting for something better. Emily worked hard without complaining, but at night, she often wondered why David's eyes no longer sparkled the way they used to. One gloomy morning, rain pattered against the window as Emily stood watching cars go by. David stumbled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes and scrolling on his phone. "Morning, David," she greeted him, placing a cup of coffee on the table. He grunted, eyes fixed on the screen. "You're always up this early." Emily forced a smile. "We've got a big birthday order today, Mrs. Taylor's party. If you're free after lunch, I could really use some help." David didn't bother to look up. "Might have plans. Steve wants to talk about some business thing. Don't wait on me." Emily's smile faltered. She took a quiet sip of tea while he finished his coffee, left the cup on the table, and walked out without another word. Later that day, Emily drove back from the market, humming along to the radio, her mind already at the bakery. She never saw the truck. There was a loud screech, then darkness. The sharp scent of disinfectant jolted her awake. Machines beeped steadily in the background. Her legs felt like lead, completely numb. A nurse leaned over her. "Emily, can you hear me?" She tried to move her legs. Nothing. Panic surged. "Where's my husband?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "He's outside. I'll let him in." A few minutes later, David entered the room. His face was pale, and though he tried to smile, there was unease behind his eyes. "You scared me," he said with a forced chuckle. "What happened?" Emily asked, trembling. "You were hit pretty bad. The doctors say your spine is damaged. They're not sure if you'll walk again." Emily's hands began to shake. "I can't feel my legs." David reached for her hand, but hesitated before touching her. When he finally did, his fingers felt distant, cold. "We'll get through this," Emily whispered more to herself than to him. "Together." David nodded, but his eyes had already drifted back to his phone. The weeks that followed were filled with pain, endless paperwork, and physical therapy. Emily's bakery had to shut down. The bills started piling up, and the insurance coverage barely helped. David grew more and more distant. He stopped sleeping beside her, saying her late-night groans kept him awake. He was gone for hours each day, offering vague excuses when he came home. One evening, as Emily stared at the ceiling, David walked in, his shirt smelling of an expensive brand of cologne. "You're home late," she said softly. "Had a few drinks with Steve. He might have a job lead." Emily reached toward him. "I miss you, David. I miss us." David let out a tired sigh. "Emily, I'm exhausted. I can't keep doing this every night." Tears filled her eyes. "I need you. I can't do this alone. It's hard for both of us," he snapped, not meeting her gaze. She heard the anger, and fear, in his voice. When had their love begun to fade? A week later, her best friend Rachel showed up with bags of groceries. "You've lost weight," Rachel said gently, hugging her. "Are you eating?" "Not much of an appetite these days." Rachel placed the groceries on the counter and sat beside her. "How's David?" Emily hesitated. "He's distant." "I'm scared, Rachel. I don't know what to do anymore." Rachel gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "You've always been strong. You'll figure this out." David walked in and looked surprised to see Rachel. "Oh, hey. Didn't know you were here." "Just checking in on Emily," Rachel said, offering a polite smile. David's eyes lingered on Rachel for a moment too long. Emily noticed but pushed the feeling aside. As days turned into weeks, Emily kept herself busy by baking small batches at home and selling cookies online. She wanted to feel like she was contributing, like she still mattered. Meanwhile, David became more irritable. He avoided money talks, snapped at simple questions, and stayed out late almost every night. One night, as Emily lay awake, she heard voices near the hallway. Quietly, she rolled her wheelchair toward the door. "She's asleep," Rachel's voice whispered. "Are you sure about this?" "I can't do this anymore," David replied. "She's not the same woman I married." Emily's heart stopped. Her breath caught in her throat, and her hands trembled as she backed away silently. The next morning, David acted like everything was normal. Emily, pale and exhausted, decided she couldn't stay silent. "David, can we talk?" He looked annoyed as he put on his jacket. "What is it?" Tears filled her eyes. "Are you seeing someone else?" David didn't respond. He picked up his keys and walked to the door. "Please, David," she begged. "Just tell me." His voice was flat. "You need to focus on yourself. I can't do this anymore. I'm done." Emily felt the world spin. She wanted to chase after him, scream, shake him, but her legs refused to move. All she could do was sit there, in the middle of the room, feeling more alone than ever before. Rachel never came back after that night. Emily realized she'd lost both the people she had once trusted most. Feeling hollow, she dialed her mother, who lived in another state. "You need to stay strong, Emily," her mother urged. "Don't let this defeat you." "I don't know how," Emily sobbed. "It's all falling apart." Her mother tried to offer comfort, but the words didn't land. Emily spent her days staring at the ceiling and her nights choking back tears. Then, unexpectedly, a letter arrived. The envelope was from a law firm. Emily turned it over in her hands several times before opening it. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the paper. "Dear Miss Parker, we regret to inform you of the passing of your uncle, Arthur Parker. As stated in his final will, you have been named a beneficiary. Kindly contact our office at your earliest convenience." Emily blinked. Uncle Arthur. She hadn't heard his name in years. The last time they met, she was just a child. She balled up the letter and tossed it aside. The last thing she needed was more family complications. That night, she sat alone at the kitchen table. Her eyes drifted to the crumpled paper. Something about it tugged at her. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe she just had nothing else left. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. Emily, her landlord, Mr. Harris, said gently, "We need to talk about the rent. It's past due again." "I know. I'm trying. Just give me a little more time." He sighed. "One more week. After that, I have no choice." As he walked away, Emily stared down at the letter. Her fingers reached for it again. Maybe she should call. Not because she believed in miracles, but because she was out of options. That evening, she picked up the phone and dialed the number. "Good evening, Parker and Associates. How may I assist you?" a cheerful voice answered. "This is Emily Parker," she said hesitantly. "I received a letter regarding my uncle's will." The woman on the other end brightened. "Yes, Miss Parker. We've been trying to reach you. Would you be able to visit our office sometime this week?" Emily hesitated. I use a wheelchair now. It's hard for me to get around. No problem, the woman replied warmly. We can arrange transportation, if you're comfortable with that. Emily agreed, still not believing she'd made the call. After she hung up, she sat for a long time in silence. For the first time since the accident, she felt something unfamiliar, a faint flicker of hope. That night, as she lay in bed, she thought about Rachel, about David, about everything that had fallen apart. And then she remembered a promise she made to herself the day she first opened her bakery: never give up, no matter how dark things get. She didn't know what was waiting on the other side of that law office, but for the first time in weeks, she was willing to find out. The night before the appointment, Emily barely slept. She kept thinking about David's last words, the bitter tone in Rachel's voice, and the mysterious letter from the law firm. A part of her still hoped David would call, apologize, or show up at the door. But the phone remained silent. The next morning, a sleek black sedan pulled up outside. The driver, polite and soft-spoken, helped her into the car and ensured she was comfortable. As the city passed by outside the window, Emily sat quietly, trying not to expect too much. At the law office, a smiling receptionist greeted her and escorted her into a private room. A man in a gray suit entered moments later, holding a thick file folder. Good morning, Ms. Parker, he said warmly. I'm Mr. Turner. Thank you for coming in. Emily nodded politely, still unsure whether to feel cautious or hopeful. I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Turner continued. Your Uncle Arthur spoke of you often in recent years. That's surprising, Emily said honestly. We hadn't spoken in a very long time. He lived a private life, Mr. Turner replied. But he was deeply invested in family. He opened the folder and looked over the paperwork. Your uncle named you as his sole beneficiary. There are a few conditions, of course. Emily blinked. Wait. Beneficiary? I thought he'd maybe left me something small, like a watch or photo album. Mr. Turner smiled. Actually, your uncle was a successful investor. His estate is, quite substantial. Emily's brow furrowed. How substantial? He cleared his throat. The total estate value is just over $100 million. Emily's jaw dropped. Her heart nearly stopped. You're kidding. It's all real, Mr. Turner said gently. But there are conditions. He requested that the inheritance be kept confidential for 6 months. He feared others might take advantage of you. Emily leaned back in her chair, overwhelmed. So I can't tell anyone? Correct. Only you and our office know. A small amount will be made available to cover necessities. The full amount will be released after 6 months, as long as the secrecy is maintained. She nodded slowly, the weight of the news sinking in. What do I have to do now? Just take your time. We'll handle the logistics. If you have questions, you can contact me directly. Back home, Emily sat at the window for hours, her mind racing. She thought about telling David. About Rachel. About the betrayals. But then she remembered David's cold goodbye. The sound of Rachel's voice in the hallway. She had her answer. Just then, her phone buzzed. A message from Rachel lit up the screen. Hey, Emily. I know things have been tough. Let me know if you need anything. Emily stared at it. Was it genuine? Or was Rachel checking to see if she was still broken and alone? She didn't respond. A few minutes later, there was a knock on the door. She rolled over and opened it to find David standing there. He looked thinner, more tired, but still wore that expensive cologne. Can we talk? He asked. Emily didn't invite him in. Talk about what? About us, he said, stepping forward. I made a mistake. I miss you, Em. Her heart raced. Why now? Rachel and I, it wasn't what I thought. I was angry, confused. I didn't think you needed me anymore. Emily said nothing. She remembered overhearing his voice with Rachel. The betrayal. I want to make it right, David whispered. Let me come home. Emily's eyes filled, but she didn't blink. You left me when I was at my lowest. You broke something I can't repair. He dropped to his knees beside her chair. I'm begging you. Please. She shook her head slowly. You didn't just leave. You gave up on me. David's face darkened. Are you seeing someone? Is that why you're like this? Emily was stunned. No. I've just learned how to survive without you. He stood, bitter now. You'll regret this. Don't come running when you need help. He slammed the door on his way out. Rachel called not long after, but Emily didn't answer. She had no space left for liars. That night, as Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling, she made a quiet vow. The inheritance would remain a secret. Not out of revenge, but for her own peace. The next morning, a knock startled her. She wheeled to the door. This time, it was Rachel, holding a cup of coffee and a paper bag. Emily, I know you're hurting. Can we talk? Rachel asked, stepping inside. Emily stayed quiet. Rachel sat beside her, eyes darting nervously. David's a mess, Rachel began. He regrets everything. You should give him a chance. Emily stared at her. Did you love him? Rachel hesitated. I don't know. It was stupid. He said you pushed him away. Emily's voice sharpened. He lied. And you helped him. Rachel dropped her gaze. I'm sorry. Emily's tone remained calm. You didn't come here just to apologize. What do you want? Rachel fidgeted with her fingers. Are you okay financially? I heard something. Someone said you got money from family. Emily's posture stiffened. I have enough to manage. Rachel's face brightened. That's great. If you ever want to restart the bakery or need a partner, I'd love to help. Emily almost laughed, but didn't. I'll think about it, she replied, though she knew she wouldn't. Rachel left soon after. Her false concern still lingered in the air. In the days that followed, Emily focused inward. She quietly rebuilt what little she could. A small portion of the inheritance had been transferred to her account, just enough to cover essentials. She paid the rent, bought groceries, and hired a part-time caregiver to assist with chores. One afternoon, there was a knock at her door. When she opened it, she was greeted by a familiar smile. Michael? She asked, surprised. Her childhood friend stood there, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Hey, Em, he said warmly. Thought you could use some company. Emily smiled. For the first time in weeks, it felt genuine. Michael sat beside her and handed her the flowers. You're still fighting, he said. That's what I've always admired about you. I'm trying, she replied. Life's been a lot lately. Well, if you ever need anything, I mean anything, I'm here. She looked at him, touched. Thank you, Michael. That means more than you know. As the weeks passed, neighbors began whispering. They noticed changes. Rent was suddenly paid on time, the apartment looked more maintained, and Emily seemed steadier, more focused. David and Rachel caught wind of the rumors. Something about Emily doing well despite everything. It made them uneasy. Then, one afternoon, David messaged her. David, did you win the lottery or something? How are you affording all this? Emily stared at the message for a moment, then typed a short reply. Emily, I'm surviving. He responded within seconds. David, you owe me, Emily. Don't forget everything I did for you. She didn't reply. Later, Rachel sent a long message, filled with sentimental lines about forgiveness, starting over, and healing. Emily read it, deleted it, and turned her phone off. She'd spent too long giving her heart to people who only came around when they needed her. One Sunday, Michael invited her to his family's weekly dinner. At first, Emily declined. She wasn't ready to face a crowd. She still felt self-conscious in her wheelchair. But Michael gently insisted. "Come on, Em. They'd love to see you. It's just dinner." So she went. Michael's parents welcomed her with warm hugs and kind eyes. His mother piled her plate with homemade pie and treated her like family. That evening, for the first time in months, Emily laughed. She told stories. She listened. She remembered how it felt to be surrounded by love that didn't come with conditions. On the way home, Michael glanced over at her. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Tears welled up, but this time they weren't from pain. Emily looked out the window and realized she was no longer completely alone. Back at home, she rolled to her mirror and stared at her reflection. She was thinner, paler, but her eyes held clarity. She saw someone who had been broken, yes, but who had begun to rebuild. "I deserve better," she whispered. Each morning after that became a ritual. No more checking for messages from David. No more waiting for Rachel's voice. Just her, the quiet kitchen, and her daily plan. Send emails. Sort bills. Bake small batches. The law firm had sent a modest advance. It covered rent, food, and basics. Emily used it cautiously. She didn't want to draw attention. When Mr. Harris, the landlord, asked about her financial situation, she gave a vague but honest answer. "A distant relative sent help," she said. He nodded, satisfied. Michael began visiting more often. Sometimes he brought fresh bread. Other times, he simply sat and talked. One afternoon, he watched her mix batter with practiced ease. "Ever think about baking again?" he asked. Emily looked down at her flour-dusted hands. "Every single day." Michael smiled. "Then maybe you should. Start small. You've still got the magic." She blinked at him, surprised by the sudden spark in her own heart. "Maybe I will." That week, she launched a small online shop, offering her well-loved cookies and cakes. It started quietly, just a handful of orders at first. Every purchase felt like a tiny triumph. One afternoon, Mr. Turner from the law office rang. "Miss Parker, how are you settling in?" he asked. "I'm managing," Emily replied calmly. "Remember," he said, "the full inheritance becomes available in 6 months. Meanwhile, the advance is yours to use, for yourself and for helping others, as your uncle intended." Emily hesitated. He wanted her to help people. "Yes," Turner added. "He admired your heart." He wrote, "Emily always thinks of others. Let her use my gift to make life gentler." Emily smiled. She thought about the single moms at the grocery store, counting loose change. That week, she quietly mailed out grocery gift cards to families she knew were struggling. Each gesture of generosity gave her pain some purpose. She could still give, even with a broken heart. Michael urged her to grow the business just a little more. He helped set up a website and delivered boxes himself. "I'll be your delivery guy until you're famous enough to need a crew," he teased. Orders multiplied. Emily's kitchen became a place of sweet aromas and cheerful noise. Though she couldn't stand, she could still lead. One evening, while Michael packed a final order, he looked over. "You're glowing. I haven't seen you like this in years." Emily nodded. "It feels good, to build something again." He smiled wide. "I'm proud of you, Em." Her cheeks turned pink, but she didn't look away. Rumors swirled. Neighbors noticed the delivery traffic, the new ramp by her front door, the shift in Emily's spirit. David, now unemployed and desperate, caught wind of it all. Rachel's bitterness only deepened as their savings dried up. One night, David phoned Emily. She let it ring. The next day, he called again. On the third attempt, she picked up. "What do you want, David?" Her voice was cool. He tried sounding casual. "Just checking in." "I'm fine. You've been busy." "Curious, where's the money coming from?" Emily paused. "Why do you care?" He stalled, then snapped. "You're hiding something. Rachel and I see what's happening. It's not fair, you sitting on cash while we're drowning." Emily's tone was ice. "You made your choice. This is my life now." He shifted tactics. "I just want to help. Maybe we can figure something out." Emily ended the call. Rachel appeared the next day, face tight with anxiety. "Emily, I know you're upset, but David lost his job. We're about to lose everything. Could you spare something? Just until we recover." Emily looked straight at her. "I owe you nothing, Rachel. You abandoned me when I was broken." Rachel's voice quivered. "I'm sorry. Truly. I hope you find your own strength," Emily said gently. "But it'll have to be without me." Rachel left, shoulders heavy. Emily shut the door softly, not out of anger, but closure. Michael celebrated every win with her. 100 online orders. A thank you note from a single mother. A genuine smile from Emily on a day that used to haunt her. "You're changing lives," he told her. She felt herself changing, too. Her wounds still remained, but they no longer ruled her. Half a year passed, slow but steady. Emily guarded the truth carefully. The inheritance wasn't just money, it became a monument to survival. Then, one bright morning, a letter from the law firm arrived. The full inheritance was now hers. She could do anything. She glanced around her modest apartment, the place where her heart had once shattered and slowly healed. She remembered David's betrayal, Rachel's cruelty, Michael's faith, and her uncle's final blessing. She realized now, her tragedy hadn't ended her story. It had started a new one. The day the final letter came, Emily stared at the figure on the page. $100 million. Even now, it didn't feel real. She exhaled deeply, shut her eyes, and let the reality sink in, along with the weight of what it meant. That morning, Michael arrived with his usual flowers and coffee. Emily held up the letter with trembling fingers. "It's official. It's all mine." Michael's grin was immediate. "I knew you'd get here. What's first?" Emily smiled, a flicker of her old spark returning. "I'm reopening the bakery. Bigger, brighter. But it's not just for me. I'm launching a foundation, to help people like I once was. That's what Uncle wanted." Michael's pride was unmistakable. He chose right. Emily spent the following weeks working harder than ever. A bright corner shop downtown was renovated for the bakery. She hired staff, some disabled, some single parents, some just in need of a break. She posted online, "New beginnings, sweet treats, open to all." On opening day, the line stretched down the block. The air smelled of fresh bread, cinnamon, and hope. People hugged Emily, took photos, and told her they'd missed her. Michael served coffee, cracked jokes, and grinned like the place was his own. Reporters arrived, eager to learn about the woman who rose from ruin. Standing before the cameras, Emily spoke clearly. "I lost everything once. But with support, I got back up. Now I want to offer that to others. This bakery, this foundation, it's for anyone needing a new chance." The story spread fast. Donations came in. People shared their hardships. Emily listened to every one. Before long, David and Rachel learned of her comeback and new success. Their lives had unraveled. The apartment? Gone. The savings? Gone. David picked up odd jobs but hated them. Rachel blamed him for their mess, their arguments loud and constant. One day, Emily sat in her office reviewing grant requests. A soft knock pulled her gaze up, and her breath caught. David and Rachel stood there, thin, weary. "Emily," David began with a forced grin, "you look incredible." "We wanted to talk." Emily remained still. "What is it?" Rachel stepped forward, hands fidgeting. "We made mistakes. We've lost everything. We're sorry for what we did. We're hoping you might forgive us, and help us get back on track." Emily felt a sting, old wounds pressing, but she stayed firm. "You both left me at my lowest. And now you want help because I've made it?" David's cheeks flushed. "That's not fair. We were lost. You know what desperation feels like." Emily nodded. "I do. And I know what it's like to be betrayed by the ones you trusted most. I can forgive you. But I won't let you use me again." Tears welled in Rachel's eyes. "Please, Emily. We have no one." Emily met her eyes. "You have each other. That's more than I had." David's mask slipped. "You're nothing without that money." "Still weak." Emily shook her head. "I was never weak. You just refused to see my strength." She pressed the call button for security. "You need to leave. I hope you find peace. But not here." As they exited, a weight lifted from Emily's chest. For the first time, she felt completely free. That afternoon, while the bakery buzzed with laughter and music, Michael found Emily gazing out the window. "You handled that with real class," he said, settling beside her. Emily smiled, tired, but at peace. "I don't want bitterness, Michael. I just want to move forward." He took her hand. "You deserve every good thing coming your way." She squeezed it, thankful for his presence. For the first time, she allowed herself to envision a future. Not merely surviving, but truly living. The community embraced her bakery and foundation. Each week, those she'd helped sent thank you notes. Some brought flowers. Others brought children to meet the woman who turned grief into purpose. Emily gave interviews, shared her truth, openly. "You're stronger than you believe," she told everyone. "Don't let betrayal or pain shape your destiny." She watched as her bakery became a haven of fresh starts and quiet hope. The lesson: loyalty and compassion are priceless. Those who deceive for selfish gain lose everything. But those who endure, with courage and an open heart, rise higher than ever before. Emily's journey became a local legend, a modern tale of resilience, grace, and discovering family where it's least expected.